here is the first type. We've had the absolute value of x equals a number, okay? And this was a compound, it was a compound equation. Do you guys remember what the two equations you would get from this? Like, just think of this as a number. You'd get x equals a, and remember x equals negative a. Oh, very nice, guys. You'd get x equals a, x equals negative a. And there was a word in between that I did not bring up because I didn't want to start bringing this idea up yet, but the word or was there. The answer for x could be a, or it could have been the opposite of a. And that word or was in between them. So we already dealt with and or last chapter with this absolute value equation. But today we're not going to deal with those equations. We're dealing with inequalities. I even started the video. Have I started? Oh, we did. Okay, that's a close-up. We're going to go with the absolute value of x, and we're going to go with less than a. And it could be less than or equal to, or just less than, so both of them apply. That is a compound inequality, and this is how I'm going to break it down, okay? I'm going to break it down just like I did with those, except now I have a less than symbol. So I'm going to break it down by removing the absolute value signs and saying x is less than a. So isn't that kind of similar to what you did up here? Just drop the absolute value sign and then rewrite it. And the word and. The word and. So it says a compound inequality. It's a conjunction. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite it, but watch what I do. I got x, and I have a, but it's now negative a, right? Similar. Switch the sign. X is less than a, and x is greater than negative a. That's what we're going to be doing. Yes, ma'am?
Oh, actually, I just figured out what else I was going to ask.
Look at that. She answered her own question. That's impressive. Okay, the word and, though. Now, we're going to deal with, on the next screen, absolute value of x is greater than a. What kind of what kind of compound inequalities are going to get with that one? And or?
Or.
Wait, and or?
Or. And or.
And or. Okay, let's go to that one. Absolute value of x is greater than a, and that could be greater than or less. Well, it could be greater than or equal to, or just greater than a. You're going to get two inequalities. You got x is greater than a. Does anyone know what the other inequality would be? X is less than negative a. Good. And the big word that we need to have because it matters is the word greater than. That's a great question. We're going to actually prove that they're and or ors by the examples. So we're going to have to prove this because maybe Justin, I just said, you know what, let's just put or, and some people say let's put and. It can only be one, and we're going to prove that in just a moment. Okay, how can you tell, how do you know if it's going to be an or disjunction or an and conjunction? So how do you know that? And here's something that actually, could it be in here? No, it was no one's sibling, but one of my first classes here at Mitchell Road gave me this great idea. And it was this. Actually, I don't write it down because it's kind of confusing to write it down. You can think of it however you want to write it down in your notes. Less than, greater.
It's all the second syllable. I just said that, less than, greater.
Swivel, did you get that? It was William? William gets credit for that. All right. So, less than, Josiah can have. Don't forget Josiah. You're good? All right, cool. We'll want some of that too. All right, we'll give it to. You know what? Henry gets some of that too. All right. It was actually Graham. Graham Lewis brought that up. Yours. You guys know Graham?
Yes.
Yeah. Long time ago. Sisters class. Yep. I'm starting to stop talking to a mic now. All right. The way you remember it is greater is going to be an or. Less than is going to be the and. And that takes practice, so please don't think you're going to get it the first time. All right, let's work on a problem here. So it's not this. I'm just going to separate it. We're going to actually start working on a problem. Yes, sir?
What about greater than?
I know. That's where it breaks down. But to remember it as a memory device, just think greater and less than. Just, I get it. Yes, I know that than.
The second syllable is less than greater.
Awesome. That's great. That's it.
But that's the third syllable.
See, we get English in here all the time. All right. All right. Let's go ahead and work on this one here. This is an example of an absolute value inequality. Okay, so it has an absolute value in it, and it has an inequality symbol in it. So my first step is just like the absolute value equations, I got to isolate this absolute value. I got to get this on one side all by itself, which means what do I do to both sides first? Subtract 4 first. Now listen, kind of glancing through your quizzes, some of you didn't do that. Some of you just started breaking it down, and I'm like, you can't do that yet. You got to isolate that absolute value. So I get the absolute value of x is less than 10. Okay. Is the absolute value isolated by itself? And the answer to that is yes. So now I read it. The absolute value of x is less than 10. So I'm going to break into two parts. Please remember, you break this into two separate inequalities. X is less than 10. X is less than 10. That's the first one. Drop the signs. And then the word and.
X is greater than negative 10.
Negative 10, yeah. Greater than negative 10. Yep, those are the two inequalities. Now, there's nothing to solve for because x is already by itself. So now go ahead and graph that. And then I'm going to check it because I could just be making all this up, right? I mean, it's possible, but we're going to check to see if it actually works. Yes, sir?
What is this pen with negative there? Would it be x
Here?
greater than 10?
Okay, see, that's a clue. Can the absolute value ever be less than a negative number? No, so that would have been a false inequality, and you get no solution.
So none of them will be negative?
So the absolute value
Not saying that, but not for now. Your problems on this homework are not going to be negative.
What about on the 10?
No, maybe later. Yeah, graph it. I would graph it first. And guys, on that quiz, you notice one of the answers had like, I don't remember what the answers were, but like maybe 20 something and 60 something. I don't know. So you're like, do you have to go by ones? No, just go by fives or by tens and put relatively where would those points go. So here I'm going to go with negative 10, 0, and 10. So you could do that. Okay, how would I graph x is less than 10?
circle on 10.
Circle on 10.
To the left.
Going to the left. And how would I graph x is greater than negative 10? Open circle and a segment in between. Make it clear that's a segment. Okay, that's your graph. Is that an and graph? Okay, now, listen. We could have done all these nice steps and then we get an answer, it looks good, but it's not actually right. I check it. I'm going to check the number 0 and see if it works in the original problem. Okay, what's the absolute value of 0? 0 plus 4? 4 is less than 14? Yes, that's true. So 0 works. I'm going to try negative 9. What's the absolute value of negative 9? 9 plus 4? 13 is less than 14. That works, doesn't it? Does 10 work?
No.
Good. I like the variety. Absolute value of 10? 10 plus 4? Oh, is 14 less than 14? No. That's why it's an open circle on 10. 11 wouldn't work. 12, negative 11, negative 12. None of those work. It's proven. Quid pro quo. That's Latin. It is proved to be so. All right, yes.
Does it like?
Don't quote me on that, Swivel. Okay, yeah.
When you're graphing, does it matter like what other numbers you put?
No, just that it's logical. So like,
If I put like 1 in the middle.
that's okay. Yeah, just try to make it as evenly intervaled as possible, which is here by tens. Okay, but you thought we escaped set builder and interval? We didn't. I need interval notation for this graph right here. Interval notation. So, do you got 2 parentheses? Yes, because you have open circles. And then you have negative 10, comma, positive 10. That's interval notation right there. Okay, and then we have set builder. It's an and graph, so we do set builder a little bit more concise. We put it together in one. Let's see if you guys can get it. So I'll go here and I'll write kind of small. X is any number such that x is greater than negative 10 and less than positive 10. And that's how I write my set builder. That's how I write my interval. And that's my graph above. Those are the answers. You need to know all three of them.
If I accidentally did it the other way, would you count off?
No. But here's a good rule of thumb. Use less than symbols. If you use less than, you're always going left to right. Okay. How many of you remember interval? Hey, do you guys remember the first day I told you interval notation? Do you remember that? You were kind of like, what? Huh? Wait, why do you have infinity? Why is it open? Why is it bracket? And then now you just get it. Like I do it and you guys are already done with it. I saw your papers. Some of you already had it before I even wrote it down. And then with set builder, I think you're still getting used to this a little bit. And don't worry, you have till Monday to figure that out. Yeah, there you go. Was that like a nervous laugh or funny? That mystery, I can't believe you said that laugh. Awesome. Okay. Let's do another one here. Absolute value of r plus 7 minus 2.5 is less than or equal to 11. Okay, what's my first step on these problems, guys? Isolate the absolute value. Get the absolute value all by itself. It is not by itself. It has a negative 2.5. So what do I do to both sides? So I got rid of that. I got the absolute value of r plus 7 is less than or equal to 13.5. Okay, good. I isolated the absolute value. Now what I have to do is break it into its two inequalities and what type of compound is it going to be? So here are the options. Is it a conjunction and or is it a disjunction or? You may begin to answer that question. It's an and, right? Less than. So here's my first one. R plus 7 is less than or equal to 13.5. So just the way it was written, except I dropped those absolute value signs. Then the word and. And what's the second inequality? Be super careful with this, Nelson.
R plus 7 is greater than negative 13.5.
Greater than or equal to negative 13.5. All right, that's it. Solve them. So do you see how you're almost solving twice? You have to solve up here for the absolute value quantity, and then you have to, well, actually 3 times maybe. Yep.
Subtract 7 from both sides and then just make it opposite.
Okay, if you subtract 7 from here, you're going to get like 6.5, and then you say like positive and negative, but that changes the answer, because watch, look at this. That would work here, because that's going to be r is less than or equal to 6.5, but here, if you subtract 7, you get negative 20.5. So is that the same as what we would have gotten the other way? No, so you got to do it after this part. So you got to do this first, then subtract 7. That's a good question, but yeah, do it this way. In fact, that's a very commonly asked question. Sir?
Yes, God.
How about this? Set builder. That's all I want. Set builder. No, you're saying subtract 7 here, and then just say negative 6.5, or sorry, positive 6.5, negative 6.5. Well, that's what I'm saying. If you did that, you get 6.5 here. Yeah, it's supposed to be negative 20.5. So it changes your answers. As you guys are working, I got to, I'm taking my class. I got another 90 on my quiz. Oh, man, I'm so like, why can't I get that elusive 100? But I got to do math. We're doing statistics, so we're doing math. And let me show you my math homework. It was fun. But guys, yeah, a lot of homework. It is, well, math homework is.
That isn't for us.
History is not. So here are my notes for one problem.
One problem.
But don't get overwhelmed by all of that. There's a part where you guys could do it. You guys could do my grad work. You could do it. In fact, the 7th graders are going to do it. I'm going to make them do that. Sorry.
So, can we pass it around?
You can't. Just don't lose them because I need those. Yeah. My students ate my homework. I'm telling you.
My students ate my homework.
Like notes when they're
the higher probability is Naomi ate it.
I feel like this would be the video that, like, if someone were like in an insane asylum, but they scratch on the walls.
Yeah, that's it. These are actually the people who research those inmates. And they're the ones who do this to help them out. And listen, if you just look at it like that, it looks like hieroglyphics, but when you look at it piece by piece, you're like, okay, that doesn't seem
big
too.
numbers.
There are bigger numbers. Yep. Okay, but that homework, guys, what I want, and here's another thing. This is not a grad degree in math. I'm not getting my graduate degree in math. I'm getting my graduate degree in education. So a lot of teachers get their grad degrees in education. A lot of teachers have to do that. She was saying an art teacher who wanted to get a grad degree would have to do that. So wait, a science teacher would have to do that for a grad, not an undergrad, grad degree. I'm like, yeah, they would have to do that. Guys, it's not that hard. You guys could do it. I'm telling you right now, you guys would do it. It's just big, this long.
Take a while.
Yeah, it takes a little bit. I was sitting there, and it was funny. I was working it out, and then Ezra and Titus come. They're like, "What are you doing, Daddy?" I'm like, "I'm doing math." "What's math?" And Titus is like, "Math. You know, has that little lisp going, math.
This is one.
And I was just like, one of them was one problem. There's somewhere. Please don't lose those papers. That's like all my
Okay,
work.
how long did it take you to do one of those questions?
Like 10 minutes. I had 2 on my homework. But my notes, it took me it was like 60 minutes of lecture, two problems for homework.
That's like 80 minutes of.
I know, right? It was like a party last night. And my boys came. They just didn't understand it. All right, set builder, here we go.
Listen to music while you do it.
No, that's distracting me. Okay. R is any number such that, and then here you go. R is greater than or equal to negative 20.5 and less than 6.5.
Does it have to be in the order? Because I have 6.5 is greater or equal to R and then like RA.
Yeah, so the order doesn't really matter, but like I'm telling other people, you really want to go left to right just to make it make sense. So I would always use less than symbols. Less than and less than. You did greater than, greater than. That's fine. It's not wrong. Just make sure that you are able to interpret it both ways. Yes, sir.
Can you write that on the board real quick?
Yes, already. R is any number such that R is greater than or equal to negative 20.5, sorry, it's so small, and less than or equal to 6.5. Okay, yes, sir.
Is it okay if I switch to negative 20.5 and 6.5 around?
And the inequality symbols?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is okay. Okay. I don't know if I'm going to fight that battle anymore. Just do it right. Right? Okay, I think I want you guys to try this one. I did. He said good work. Like good work. Not like
Not good work.
he said you didn't get it right, but you showed good work.
You still did a 50.
Pointless, Mr. Too much. No decimal point.
Oh, there are no decimal points. Or there are a few. There should be a few. Did you guys remember did you guys memorize perfect squares? Like 1, 4, 9. You did.
Yeah, we did that. You should have.
The perfect squares were on there. So like it said, what's 16 squared? I was like, 256. And you could have used a calculator, but I've memorized already because I've gone through it. No, because I just got to get, and it helped. It helped.
What's that weird thing?
That's sum of.
It's on the table.
And
Oh.
also, how come this is about students falling asleep in class?
Give that back to me right now. Give that back to me right now. I need that back. They've uncovered my secret. No, so here's what it is for. Here, let me show you what this one's. Here's the problem, guys. It's really interesting, and it gets really interesting here. Is there a correlation, so is there a relationship between times falling asleep in class and your quiz grade? So like, the more times you fall asleep, does that affect your quiz grade positively or negatively?
Yeah.
So here,
Okay, I got that right.
now, Now, if you're looking at it, listen up. If you're looking at it, you're like, well, duh. If you fall asleep, you don't pay attention. But that's not always the case. What this study does is it says, all right, we're going to observe 8 people, and we're going to say, all right, how many times did they fall asleep in class? So one person 8 times. Oh, nice. And then you get their quiz score. They got a 9 out of 10, an 8 out of 10. Okay, so you're looking at that. Now, just looking at the numbers, you might be able to say, well, yeah, see the guy who slept. Look, one guy slept 4 times and got a score of 8 out of 10. That's not bad. I mean, that's for sleeping. One guy slept 8 times and got a 1. Okay, right? A 1 on the score.
Not a 10.
One person slept 1 time and got a score of 9. So you're like, well, of course, no. You have to be able to prove that with statistics and say, do they match up? And listen, in fact, looking at the results, it shows a slight correlation. That means there is some relationship, but you can't say the more times you sleep, the worse you'll get every time. Because some students slept a lot and still did okay. 6 times and got a 6, man.
Mr. A, I think that is just a study of how the reason that you keep getting 9 out of 10 is because you keep falling asleep once in class and you get a 9 out of 10 because you miss one concept.
For me, on my quiz? Are you talking
Yes.
about my quiz?
The guy that fell asleep one time.
Oh, wait, yeah, we're supposed to be working this out.
You want to just give it to this?
Oh, yeah, he's the guy that fell asleep once.
Yeah, I'm the one who fell asleep once. Okay, here, multiply both sides by 5/4.
Mr. X, did they get to see your word?
Who? I'll give it. I think it's 5/4. There you go. Don't lose it, please. There might be some drool. I'm sorry. I slept halfway through. Okay.
Sorry, I forgot to do set builder.
Oh, that's okay. Here we'll get
You and I did
15.
on the quiz and guess.
All right, I think that's good so far. Yeah, and I would change this to a decimal or a mixed number. So we'll get 3 3/4. Thank you. So I'll go here. D is greater than 3 3/4, or 3.75. Okay. Great tour. So I'm going to break it down. My first one, by the way, thank you, is always the easiest. Oops. It's just D is greater than 3 3/4. Then the word or, because it's greater. Then you got D is less than negative 3 3/4. So those are your 2 inequalities. All right, set builder. Okay, ready for set builder?
Yes, sir.
That's it.
Yes.
That's set builder.
What?
Because of or, you don't combine them anyway, right? You don't combine them into. You cannot combine them. They're a disjunction. They're separate. Okay, but then interval. Yeah, so we're going to have here negative infinity, negative 3 3/4, union. One of these days I'll remember. Union 3 3/4, comma, positive infinity. Can we redeem that? Yeah, okay, all right, there we go. That's your disjunction, union, and then your graph. So if I put, I'm okay if you just said negative 3 3/4, positive 3 3/4, and because they're right between, or zero's right between, that's nice. Open circle, line going to the left. Open circle, line going to the right. And that's your graph. All right, you guys get that? How many of you get absolute value inequalities if it's less than? What kind of compound is that? And, conjunction. Greater is a disjunction or. That's it. Have you done this before?
Yes.
Yeah. Just do it again. Yes, sir.
So what would be a scenario where you would use this in actual life?
It's actually on that paper. We had, I don't know, did anyone see absolute value inequality on my homework? Oh, here it is.
I didn't have the timer.
That's okay.
Oh no.
Right there.
But
That tells me.
what did you
That
get?
tells me.
How'd you get to there though?
Oh my goodness, here. That's all I got.
What
today.
kind of work?
But how did you? I don't get how you.
I actually, I wrote my numbers in Spanish, so that might throw you off. All right, your homework. What time is it, guys? I need a time. Yes, sir? 50? Awesome. All right. What? You're telling me I did something I wasn't supposed to do? Oh, I hate when that happens. 8 through 20 even. 75, 76. So I took a few problems at the beginning, took them off, gave you those. And you still have some time, so go ahead and work, guys. Now, I saw some of your expressions. I'm going to close this out. Bye-bye, Swivel, before I go on my rant.